Welcome to my collaborative team's CollaborEAT Live series. It's a 10 or 15-minute video conversation on Facebook and YouTube, taking place every Wednesday at 1 p.m. CollaborEAT Live provides digestible, pardon the pun, content to both professionals and the public on a variety of topics relating to the collaborative process. Our CollaborEAT Live episodes consist of a variety of topics driven by our followers and our members. Topics range from ethical considerations, best practices, problem solving, marketing, specialized topics relating to collaborative practice, practice tools, and more. Whether you join us live or watch on your own free time, you can count on our weekly CollaborEAT Lives to provide you with thought-provoking conversation and educational information about the collaborative process. Our guest today is Dr. Jerome Gaies, is a licensed psychologist and certified family mediator who's practiced in the Tampa, Florida area for over 3 decades. Dr. Gaies devotes his practice to peacemaking for families. He's a board member with Tampa Bay Academy of Collaborative Professionals and has served in various roles for the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals, FACP, and the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals, IACP. Dr. Gaies is a founder and trainer with Tampa Bay Collaborative Trainers and provides collaborative trainings in the United States and abroad. Dr. Gaies is also the author of A Clear and Easy Guide to Collaborative Divorce, published in 2018, and co-author of Mindful Co-Parenting, A Child-Friendly Path Through Divorce, published in 2014. Welcome. So happy to have you here today.
Thanks, Jerry. I'm glad to be here with you.
And by way of full disclosure, and for my first question, I recently took your Tampa Bay training, introductory training as a representative of my collaborative team, and I found it to be fabulous. And so I have a couple of, I also want to offer you a compliment. One of the members, one of the attendees at our happy hour, a faculty member who teaches collaborative practice at a law school, also took your training, the last training, and had rave reviews about it. And so what I'd like to ask you about is a couple of things. How has the content of training changed over time, number one? And number two, how has doing the training over COVID changed you as a trainer over time?
Okay, great questions. First of all, thanks for the kind words. We really appreciate that. We love the folks that we work with, and we try really hard to meet their needs, to give them the best training we can to make it a really positive experience. So we're really happy to get that good feedback. I think there are 2 ways in which the content has changed over time. First and foremost, the 4 trainers of Tampa Bay Collaborative Trainers are all very dedicated collaborative professionals. And so we're constantly looking for new ways to do collaborative work that's more effective, that's more efficient. And with every passing year, we become hopefully more masterful at what we do. So over time, the training changes because we simply learn more ourselves and are able to therefore add more to the training. So after every training we do, and we've done many, many trainings together, we always sit down and we fine tune, sometimes overhaul, sometimes tweak, but we always make the training more robust and more current. The other way in which it's changed is that because we're now doing it virtually and we're trying to teach people how to do collaborative work virtually, we've added many components that are specific to how to do a virtual collaborative case. So those are the 2 main changes in terms of content. In terms of the changes that have come over the course of the pandemic, the biggest change is that we do all of our trainings right now virtually. And in the beginning, I wasn't sure how well that would work, how much of a compromise it would be over live trainings. But Jerry, I have to tell you, to my surprise and great pleasure, the virtual trainings have been, I think, just as effective as the live trainings. You sacrifice some of that experience of being in the same physical space, but everyone gains a lot in terms of efficiency and convenience. And we also have the benefit of working with people all over the country. So our last collaborative training actually had participants from 12 different states, which really adds some diversity to the group, and I think makes the training that much better.
So getting back to the live versus virtual training, at the last training, um, one of the presenters, who shall remain unnamed, and it wasn't you, bemoaned, because I asked that question then about how it's different, bemoaned the absence of being able to just interact on a break with the trainees, or the trainees being able to come up and ask either a private question or a practice question, or just chat. How have you accommodated for that social networking component of the training in the virtual world?
Well, and I'm not sure which trainer it was, but if it was Adam Cordova, then he was
I am
wrong,
not saying names, but
as he usually is. And no, but he's right. You do lose some of the spontaneity that comes with going to get a snack at the break and then having a chat with someone here and a chat with someone there. However, we have created opportunities for that to happen even so. So, for example, we always join the meeting by video well in advance of the start time. So folks come on early and we chat. They can ask questions. They can ask about specific matters that relate to their state or to their practice pattern or their own personal experiences. We also, when we take breaks, if anybody wants to speak with us during that time, we're available to do that. We also can do private chat using the chat feature of Zoom. So people often do actually ask specific questions of one of us or another, and then we can respond directly to them, or we can suggest they bring it up to the full group if they're willing to. So there are a lot of ways to do it even in the course of the training. But then beyond that, one of the things that I think we've prided ourselves on is our accessibility to the attendees throughout the course of the training and beyond the training. So everybody has our email addresses, they have our phone numbers. Anybody who comes to one of our trainings, if they have questions, they have thoughts they want to share, they can contact any of the four of us anytime for eternity. And we're always happy to speak with them because they become really a part of our extended family, of our professional family. So just as an example, we have one participant who had attended our training, who actually is out in Utah. And she has gone on to do several collaborative cases since the training. And she has served as the volunteer note taker on a collaborative case that I've been involved with over the last several months. So I have a chance to interact with her. We have a chance to talk a little bit about the development of her practice. So we do try to stay connected with our attendees. So those are the ways in which we try to make up for the fact that we're not there live and in the flesh.
So I was on a conference earlier with a group of collaborative professionals in the northwest part of our state, Florida. And this is what we would call a struggling or an emerging practice group. And there were some very seasoned professionals there. And what they were talking about was the way I was trained. All right. And these folks were trained, let me just say, a decade ago. I guess that would be fair.
Sure.
Right. So how has, in your view, the train, and one can tell about how they practice. And so some ideas were given up by some more newly trained people, and the more older trained people kind of went, really, you can do that?
Right.
So how has collaborative practice and particularly the training changed that the younger folks seem to have more opportunity to be creative?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, great point. I was originally trained a little over 10 years ago. And of course, I've been to many, many introductory trainings since then, including all of our introductory trainings, which are many. And I've been able to watch the evolution of the training process and the content itself. So if I go back to when I was originally trained back in 2010, the basics were there, the principles of collaborative practice, but it was much more kind of one size fits all approach. And we've learned over time that there are really no rules beyond the core rules, meaning that you can think outside the box, you can practice outside the box, you can be amazingly creative. It's really not a question of here's what you must do. It's more that here are the things you have to include, but beyond that, you can do whatever works. So you absolutely have to maintain the integrity of the process. And that's a big part of my job as the facilitator or the neutral coach. I have to make sure we stay within the guidelines of the core principles. But beyond that, we can be as creative as need be. And I think we've really all learned in the collaborative world that that is one of the greatest strengths of the collaborative process, is that we can do things that maybe we hadn't even thought of before. But for this family, it will work and it will help them get to a peaceful resolution. And that's what it's all about.
And I think, if I may, having had this conversation just earlier today, that the younger folks who are practicing seem to have that in mind, whereas the older folks, in my observation, have a particular way, and you better not, like the whole idea, for instance, of having everybody come to the first meeting and sign the participation agreement.
Right.
Somebody, I think it was Brian Galbraith, did a presentation and talked about using DocuSign and email to get the participation agreement, so that when everybody came to the first meeting, they could get down to business. And when we discussed this earlier, one of the older folks said, "You can use that?" So I do want to offer a compliment as well. One of the things about your training, as opposed to the few live trainings that I've been to, is the remarkable use of what I'll call creative educational devices, the videos that demonstrate the points that you're trying to get across. So that alone, to me, and I think the same thing from Mark Soblowski, who is up in Connecticut, who's been doing this for 30 years, said, wow, never thought of doing it that way. That was really creative. So my compliments to you. And what I'd like to be able to do, I'm going to give you this invitation now. You talked about the collaborative coach or the facilitator. Since we've been having contact with folks in other states, they even have child specialists along with the facilitator. So maybe we can have another CollaborEAT to talk about the emerging roles of the mental health professional and what hats he or she might wear for another CollaborEAT lunch. I do want to thank you for your time. You're
pleasure.
Always a delight to chat with. Your smile is infectious, and your training was fabulous. So
thank you, Jerry.
See you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.